Hello everyone, welcome back to Economics with Jagdeep. I'm Jagdeep and today we are doing a full walkthrough of questions 3 to 7 from the Cambridge IGCSE Economics 0455, paper 12, November 2025. Now these are the kind of questions that look simple, but trust me, Cambridge just loves to trap you. So let's go through each one, break down the correct answer, and more importantly, let us understand why the wrong answers are wrong, because that's where the real learning happens, right? So let's get into it. Alright, this is question number 3 and it reads, a country is producing at point X on its production possibility curve PPC, which is this, which shows how it can allocate its production between capital and consumer goods. A period of recession then causes some of its factories to close. Which point could represent the country's new position? And we have 4 points on the diagram, which is A, B, C and D, and X point, which is this, is already on the curve. So the correct answer is C, and this is because when a recession hits and factories close down, the economy is not at all using all of its resources, correct? It is producing below its potential unit. This is the potential and this is the actual output the country is producing. So this point is something that is going to be inside the PPC curve, and since out of all the 4 options, option C is the one that is inside the PPC curve, this is the correct answer. Alright, now let us take a look at why A, B and D aren't. So point A and point D are not the correct answer because the country has definitely reallocated its resources, but it is still at the full capacity, at the full potential. A recession does not allow the country to stay at the full capacity. Point B, on the other hand, is outside the PPC curve, which means that the country would have to have more productive capacity, that is basically have economic growth, but recession is just the opposite of that. So point B also stands ruled out. Let's take a look at the next question. Which combination gives current examples of macroeconomics and microeconomics? Now looking at all the options, option A, B, C and D, the correct option here is option C. This is where we are fulfilling this condition of macro and microeconomics. Now, to answer this question, we should be aware of what macroeconomics and microeconomics is. So, macroeconomics is something that will focus on the whole economy, the big picture, whereas micro would mean zooming in, which is more individualistic in discussions, correct? So, option A reads study of the demand for a product and study of price of a product. So a signifies individualism, hence both are microeconomics oriented, not macro. Similarly, option B, study of behavior of firms and study of individual behavior. Even if it is behavior of firms, it is plural. A firm is still an individual unit. It is still micro oriented in nature. So both of these are again microeconomic, not macro and micro. This we've already spoken about. This is macro and this here is micro. Likewise, study of international economy and study of national economy. So international trade, national economy would entail studying GDP or GNI. They both are macroeconomic in nature. So again, not the correct option. Moving on to question number 5. Students, if you are watching this video on your mobile, hit the hype button so YouTube could push this video to more learners just like yourself. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider using the thanks button below. Your support is super crucial for creating more high quality and free content for students just like you. Thank you for all your support so far. Let's move on to question number 5. So question number 5 reads, the diagram shows the supply and demand curves for a commodity. We have the demand curve and the supply curve here. The initial market is at equilibrium at point E1, which is this, and there is a change in the market that leads to a new equilibrium, which is E2, which is here in the diagram. So to move to point E2, the demand curve is supposed to shift to the right. Only then we would have the E2 equilibrium. So this is the demand curve and it has shifted to the right, correct? Now the question arises, why is the demand curve shifting to the right? So the demand would shift to the right due to any change in its non-price factors, correct? Let's take a look at the options. So option A, a decrease in the price of a substitute good, it's a non-price factor. A decrease in the price of raw materials, debatable. An increase in the price of a substitute good, again a non-price factor. And an increase in price of raw materials. So here the correct answer is C. Now why am I saying C? Because it says an increase in the price of a substitute good, correct? Now whenever the price of a substitute good increases, what will happen? So whenever the price of a substitute goods increases, or if a substitute is becoming more expensive, consumer will switch over to this commodity in consideration. And when that happens, the demand curve would shift to the right, indicating an increase in demand. And when that happens, this would become the new equilibrium, which would say an increase in price and the quantity, along with an increase in demand at the new equilibrium. Now let's see why others are not the correct options. So option A said a decrease in the price of substitute goods. Well, this would have an opposite effect. If a substitute is becoming cheaper, people will switch away from this commodity. They would stop buying it. That would reduce the demand. Now when the demand reduces, it would shift the curve to the left, correct? And this would mean lower price and lower quantity, because the equilibrium would be somewhere over here, and that's not what the diagram shows. The second option reads a decrease in the price of raw materials, which is basically a segment that is going to impact the cost of production and hence the supply of the commodity, not the demand, correct? Likewise, an increase in the price of raw materials, it is similar to B, just the opposite of it. So again, it is going to impact the cost of production and hence the supply. So C is the correct answer for this question. Let's move on to question number 6. So question number 6 is showing the demand curve for a commodity. We have a downward sloping demand curve, price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. Now what can be concluded about a single downward sloping demand curve? Ideally, when we talk about a downward sloping demand curve, it simply means that other factors being constant, as the price goes up, quantity demanded falls, and as the price falls, quantity demanded increases. That means there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity. Let's see which of these options talk about it. So here we have consumer increase the demand where their income rises. Whenever there is a change in the non-price factor, it would shift the demand curve, so you would not have a single curve, correct? Likewise, option B says consumer plans to buy less when price rises. I think this is more like it. So B seems to be the correct option here. Option C says firms produce less as price rises. Now this is again more supply oriented, so it does not concern with the demand curve. Likewise, option D says firms sell more when price rises. So this also is supply oriented. It does not concern with the demand curve. Alright. So one thing that we need to remember is whenever there is a movement along the demand curve, it is because of changes in price. But if there is a non-price factor that is changing, it would cause the curve to shift either to the right, indicating an increase, or left, indicating a decrease. And finally, question number 7. Students, if you want to master answering MCQ questions for IGCSE, consider joining one of my online tutoring sessions where I could help you dissect these MCQ questions and their options. I'm currently helping students from multiple countries like UAE, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Qatar. I invite you to contact me directly at the number displayed on your screen and do not miss out on a free 30-minute session. Let's get going to question number 7. So question number 7 reads, when the price of butter increased by 10%, the quantity supplied of butter increased by 20%. What is the price elasticity of butter? So if we understand and remember properly, the formula for PES is percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in price. Now they have given the percentage changes already, just put the values here. So quantity supplied percentage change is 20 over change in percentage change in price is 10, we get it as 2. So PES is equal to 2, and please remember this is price elasticity of supply, so this is a positive 2. So the positive 2 comes over here, option D. Why not A? Because a negative sign would ideally indicate it as PED. So option A doesn't suit and fit the question. Option B is 0.5 but the sign is negative, so again ruled out. Option C is positive but we do not get 2 over here, it is 0.5. So 0.5 is something when you would do if you have not studied the formula correctly and you happen to do this, then you would get 0.5. So again it is not the correct answer. Alright. Students, if this has helped you, give it a thumbs up and drop your score in the comments. Also subscribe for more walkthroughs from Economics with Jagdeep. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye now. Take care.